Welcome back to my podcast, Silent Suffering, where I explore the issues of weathering in marginalized communities and delve deep into the often overlooked intersection of race, gender, and healthcare. I'm your host, Chelsea Cousin, and in today's episode, I will specifically shine a light on the experiences of Black women as they navigate the complexities of weathering effects, maternal health, and disparities from the healthcare system. From systematic inequalities to personal stories of despair, I will explore the tribulations faced by Black women as they seek care, understanding, and validation in a system that too often ignores their pain. Through statistical research and candid conversation with those with lived experience, I will attempt to uncover the harsh realities, amplify marginalized voices, and develop solutions to foster meaningful change in the healthcare system. Now take a seat and follow along as I share these uncomfortable truths with you. This is Silent Suffering. Now, you all may be wondering, what actually is weathering, and why does this issue primarily impact Black women? Well, weathering is a term coined by Dr. Arlene Geronimus in 1992 that describes how marginalized people suffer from chronic stressors which biologically age their bodies, even if they are not physically that age, and this leads to the deterioration of their health. For Black women specifically, this manifests in a variety of ways, from higher chronic illnesses to maternal disparities. According to research conducted by Yale School of Medicine, Black women age earlier and faster than white women and any other racial group due to stress hormones induced by a state of constant fight or flight. A study conducted by Alexis Reeve, a postdoctoral researcher, revealed that heart disease began 5 years earlier in Black women, while insulin resistance began 11 years earlier. In 1994, SWAN, or the Study of Women's Health Across the Nation, conducted a study in which they analyzed the health of middle-aged women during menopause. However, during the study, Black middle-aged women were ostracized who experienced menopause earlier due to weathering impacts. Reeve exposed the unreliability of the study due to it creating false high estimates for age of onset chronic disease by not taking Black women into account. Overall, the results of Reeve's study showed that hypertension and metabolic disease intervention should target Black and Hispanic women earlier than the SWAN study suggested. Furthermore, in a study conducted by Geronimus herself, she found that by age 45, half of Black women had high allostatic loads, and by age 64, over 80% did as well. Some more shocking statistics by the 2023 American Heart Association revealed that 58% of Black women in the United States have high blood pressure, while only 43% of white women do, and that Black women with high blood pressure before age 35 have 3 times higher risk of stroke than their other racial counterparts. It can be said that the daily onslaught of racial discrimination, socioeconomic disparity, and unequal access to health care, as well as other chronic stressors, contribute to the depleting health of these women. Overall, it is crucial that we as a society recognize the existence of weathering effects experienced by women of color, specifically Black women, and work toward dismantling the system of oppression that perpetuate them. In the next segment, I will discuss the intersection of weathering and maternal health and how these stressors impact pregnancy, childbirth, and health beyond. Again, you are listening to Silent Suffering by Chelsea Cousin, and stay tuned after this commercial. Welcome back to Silent Suffering. And I know that this topic is a hard pill to swallow for most people, so I hope that the break allowed you to breathe and process all of this information. In this segment, we'll turn our attention to the much anticipated and not talked about enough topic, maternal health and mortality rates amongst Black women. When you think of childbirth, what feelings come to mind? Well, for most people, it will be excitement, satisfaction, love, etc. However, for Black women, it is the contrary. Fear, pain, and stress are some of many negative feelings Black women face when considering or going through pregnancy or the childbirth process. This is because Black women in the United States have exceedingly high rates of maternal mortality in comparison to other races of women. In 1990 alone, research by the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, found that Black babies were often twice as likely to die than white babies. And naturally, people blamed Black teen mothers for this disparity. However, research conducted by Dr. Arlene Geronimus revealed that Black babies by teen mothers were actually healthier than Black babies of Black mothers in their 20s and older. This is because younger women experience fewer years of chronic stressors or weathering than the older women. Not only this, but more recent research conducted by the CDC found that in 2017 alone, Black women were 2 to 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes compared to their white counterparts, and twice as likely to develop maternal sepsis. Now you may ask yourself, why is this? Well, this is primarily due to structural and systematic racism. Because of this, disparities in the healthcare system persist. This can be manifested in delayed or inadequate treatment, misdiagnosis, and dismissive attitudes toward the pain and concern of Black women, pregnant or not. Furthermore, weathering also plays a key role in this mortality rate, with chronic stressors being linked to maternal health outcomes, including preterm birth, low birth weight, and ultimately maternal mortality. One story of a Black mother reveals how common this is amongst Black women, though she never expected it to happen to her. Here's the story of Angelica Lyons, as quoted by author Kat Stafford's series From Birth to Death, which examines health disparities of Black individuals amongst their lifetime. Angelica Lyons knew it was dangerous for Black women to give birth in America. As a public health instructor, she taught college students about racial health disparities, including the fact that Black women in the United States are nearly 3 times more likely to die during pregnancy or delivery than any other race. Her home state of Alabama has the 3rd highest maternal mortality rate in the nation. Then, in 2019, it nearly happened to her. What should have been a joyous first pregnancy quickly turned into a nightmare when she began to suffer debilitating stomach pain. Her pleas for help were shrugged off, she said, and she was repeatedly sent home from the hospital. Doctors and nurses told her she was suffering from normal contractions. She said even as her abdominal pain worsened and she began to vomit bile. Angelica said she wasn't taken seriously until a searing pain rocketed through her body and her baby's heart rate plummeted. Rushed into the operating room for an emergency C-section months before her due date, she nearly died of an undiagnosed case of sepsis. Even more disheartening, Angelica worked at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, the university affiliated with the hospital that treated her. Her experience is a reflection of the medical racism, bias, and inattentive care that Black Americans endure. For me, this story reveals that even Black women aware of the dangers facing Black women during childbirth can also be victims of that very statistic. Though Angelica had a background in public health, her pleas for help were dismissed and her concerns disregarded. She experienced medical neglect that resulted in a life-threatening situation that could have been easily prevented. However, her story unfortunately highlights the systematic failures within the healthcare system that disproportionately impact Black women, leading to these higher maternity, mortality, and morbidity rates. Angelica's stories is one of thousands that reveal the importance of healthcare reform and reversal of systematic racist practices, unconscious or not, in the healthcare system. After our next break, a special guest, my own mother, will bravely tell her own horrific experiences with the healthcare system while giving birth to my older brother, Shamar. Welcome back. Here we have my mother, who will now share her own maternal story with you all, so listen closely.
Hello guys, my name is Shamal, and I was 23 years old, pregnant with my second child, and I experienced a few things. I'll start with during birth. He needed forceps to help with the process of giving birth, and I was told that my uterus was damaged a bit because of the forceps being used. And he was healthy, everything was good. The first red flag I experienced after giving birth to him using forceps was When it was time for his birth certificate to be signed by my husband and I, the nurse came in, like they normally do because I had a child before, and you have the parents fill out the form. However, this nurse, for some reason, my husband was sitting in the chair next to the hospital that I was lying in, and she asked me, she said something weird about like the father being absent, so I should just fill out the part for myself. And then I said, my husband is right here. And she looked over at him, and she turned red, and then she said, excuse me for a moment, and then she ran out with the paperwork and never returned. And I was in the hospital for 2 days. I never saw anybody to bring me the birth certificate papers. So my son's birth certificate only had half of my name on it and no father. But anyway, the medical part that was the second red flag was the forceps, and I had a damaged uterus, and they really didn't get into more detail about that. When I did my follow-up at the OBGYN, my normal OBGYN, I was told that I suffered a prolapsed uterus and that I would need a hysterectomy. I was 23 years old, just had my second child, and I was concerned, like, hysterectomy means you can't have any more children. And I, remember asking the doctor, was there, something else I can do? And I was not given many options. It was just like surgery would be the best way. It'll get worse. Things like that. And I remember the OBGYN had an assistant or a student teacher with her, and they seemed really eager to do the surgery, the full hysterectomy. And I remember discussing that I wasn't comfortable, and I talked to my husband about it, and I did not, and it wanted like the decision as soon as possible. I felt like, okay, do you want to do this or not? And I never agreed to get the surgery, and I followed up, and they still discussed more reasons to do the full hysterectomy and no other options. I just decided not to, I said I'll deal with it. It wasn't too bad for me to do it. And I'm so happy that I did, because I was able to later get pregnant with my third child and have Chelsea. And had I went through a full hysterectomy at 23 years old, I would not have 3 beautiful children. And if I wanted to have 4 children or 5 children, I could have, but I stopped at 3 because I decided I didn't want to have any more. But if I listened to the doctors, I would have had those things taken away from me, getting a full hysterectomy and not knowing that I didn't need it. It was mind blowing. So that was my experience at 23 years old.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thanks so much.
This experience shared by my mother shows how misinformation and pressure from healthcare workers can lead to dire consequences. This can be most prominently seen by the fact that Black women have not only disproportionate maternal mortality rates, but also have the highest abortion rates. Black women are often misinformed about their health, leading to irreversible consequences in the future, not only for themselves, but also for their children. If my mom were to receive that hysterectomy, not knowing the true extent of what it was, I would not be making this podcast as we speak. And this goes for millions of other Black babies, born or unborn, whose mothers have personally been victimized by the healthcare system. From encounters with dismissive healthcare providers to experiencing medical gaslighting and negligence, Black women have faced a multitude of obstacles in their pursuit of quality healthcare. These traumatic experiences not only have immediate repercussions to their physical health, an example, weathering, but also leave lasting scars on their mental and emotional well-being. One main solution that I would like to emphasize before I conclude this episode is policy change. I believe that policy intervention at any level, local, state, federal, need to address systematic barriers to maternal health care for Black women. This could involve advocating for policies that address social determinants of health, such as affordable housing, education, and employment opportunities, as well as policies that promote equitable access to healthcare services, and eliminate racial disparities in healthcare delivery. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you found this information as informative and impactful as I did.